So, cores. Cores are the main progression and kind of the end game of Moko. They are of course important because they directly increase the power of your weapons and help you get better times in rifts. Although the way you get cores are random, you can kind of control the way you get cores by either fusing them to a same core or fusing into a random one. Now, the question is, which cores should you prioritize and fuse to the same core, and which cores you can prioritize last and instead fuse to a random core? If you're wondering that, then stay tuned because we will be making a tier list of all the cores in Moko as of Season 2. Now, before we proceed with the list, here are a couple of disclaimers. Disclaimer number 1, this tier list is a semi-progression guide. This should help you know which cores you want to invest in as soon as possible and which ones you can just prioritize last. Disclaimer number 2, the primary assumption of this guide is that in general, damage-based cores are much better than survivability-based cores, aside for a few exceptions we will be mentioning later. But because in Neo Moko, especially compared to old Moko, you are actually able to dodge basically the majority of boss attacks, given of course that you know the boss attack patterns. Simply put, if you are skilled enough, you will be dodging everything and not take a lot of damage from bosses, and thus why survivability-based cores will be ranked lower. And disclaimer number 3, this is heavily based on my personal opinion. If you have any disagreements with the format or tier placement, please let me know why in the comments. And with the disclaimers done, here are the tiers. We have the S tier, which is the special tier. This is obviously the tier reserved for the best core in the game. However, there is more to this core other than being the best, and we will be talking about that one later. A tier is the MC or OC tier or the Mega Charge Overcharge tier. Cores placed in this tier should be at least overcharged and ideally mega charged if you have the resources in all your weapons, as the value they provide is worth the grind. B tier is the It Depends tier. The value of the cores placed in this tier is dependent on the weapon it is used here. Cores in this tier might be MC-OC tier on some weapons, while just being OC or C on others. And finally, the C tier is the OC or C cores, or the overcharged or charged cores. I know, a little bit of a mouthful, but cores in this tier are the last priority in terms of upgrading, as the value they provide can kind of be compensated by skill. You can keep these cores charged in your weapons, though making them overcharged is still somewhat valuable if you have the resources. Starting off strong with the tier list is the Damage Core. Overall, a good core. Increases the damage of your main attacks, charge attacks, abilities, supers, summons, no ifs, no buts. It's simple, but it's effective, and it's definitely worth upgrading to overcharged or mega charged even. And that is straight to A tier. Although the only thing I will say about the Damage Core is that although the core itself is pretty good, the weapons that use it are on average pretty mediocre. I would say the only meta weapon in the game that uses the Damage Core is the Zapsicle, and you could argue the Headbanger. Even with these mediocre weapons though, they all have their use cases, so it's still worth it to invest damage cores into them. Next up is the Crit Core, and I'm just gonna say straight to the S tier. The Crit Core right now is a little bit of a problem, mainly in competitive elite rifts, and this is a problem because as long as you are using a weapon with the Crit Core, you can get really good times by just being lucky with the crits, and that's why this core is so good in rifts. Essentially, getting the best times in rifts is now based on luck when you are using the Crit Core. Weapons like Technofists, Squid Blades, Zapsicle are strong on their own, but with the Crit Core, they become overpowered in rifts. The only thing of concern is that the Crit Core only increases how likely you are to crit. Even if you equip a semi-charged Crit Core, you can still get a lot of crits, just as you would with a Mega Charged Crit Core, which is why it's in the special tier, because it is definitively the best core in the game. However, I still don't know if it's worth it to upgrade it, because again, a semi-charged Crit Core can provide just as much value as a Mega Charge Core, if you're lucky enough of course. It's a unique, or you could say special, core in that case. but if you were to ask me right now, I would recommend upgrading it to MC or OC. The Attack Speed Core. Not as problematic as the Crit Core, but it is still very good. As the name suggests, it increases how fast you shoot your weapon, simply increasing the DPS of your weapon for quite a decent amount actually. A 7.5% increase per upgrade is quite a lot. Also, since all of the current weapons that use Attack Speed Core have a charge attack, you are able to charge it up much more often. For Technofists and Venom Bow, that's basically just more damage. Thus, it is another simple but effective core to upgrade to Overcharged or Mega Charged, up there in the A tier. Now, you might argue that the Attack Speed Core doesn't really increase the damage of weapons like the Vibe Shifter, but it still does increase the heal output of the weapon, which is anyways the intended purpose of the weapon. So it is still worth upgrading if you do use the Vibe Shifter for some reason. It's not really a meta weapon and you should not be using it, but that's on you. Moving on, the Cooldown Core. Now, this is a weird one. This core is heavily dependent on the abilities of your weapons. You will get more value from this core the more abilities and the longer cooldowns your weapon has. And of course, abilities with damage will be better with the Cooldown Core. With a weapon like Speed Shot, not only do you have 2 burst damage abilities, but they also have very long cooldowns. This is the perfect conditions for the Cooldown Core. That's why you want to overcharge or even mega charge the Cooldown Core for your Speed Shot. However, that is not really applicable to the other weapons, you could argue. Squid Blades have very short cooldowns on its damage abilities, so a Cooldown Core is not gonna affect the cooldowns of these abilities much, except for the invisibility cooldown. But even then, you should only be using the invis on emergencies only, so the Cooldown Core is not really needed, as you should be using the invis as few times as possible. The Vibe Shifter has 2 decent abilities, the damage and the heal, with pretty long cooldowns. You could argue that overcharged or mega charged cooldown cores give good enough value for the Vibe Shifter, but for me, having only 2 abilities that are not even that impactful or good is not really worth upgrading your cooldown core to mega charge or overcharge. Thus, for these weapons, you can get good enough value from charged or overcharged cores. B tier. Up next is the Healing Core. And I know I just mentioned in the disclaimer that survivability such as healing is not as important as dealing damage in MoCo. And while this is true in general, there are some use cases for healing in the game, and weapons that have good healing are still quite important. A weapon like the Vibe Shifter only has good healing going for it, so having MC or OC core actually provides a lot of value for that specific weapon. The Technofists, though not as reliant on healing as the Vibe Shifter, is still arguably one of the best single target healing outputs in the game, which is one of the best use cases of healing specifically in Rifts. Thus, having MC or OC healing core on Technofists is just as worth it. However, for the Singularity, not that much healing and way too long of a cooldown, so basically investing a higher healing core there would just be a waste. So, good on weapons with good healing output, otherwise, just keep them in overcharged or charged. B tier. A similar core to the Healing Core is the Healing Received Core. Now, this is gonna be a controversial one because the same logic applies to the Healing Core, but for the tank weapons instead of the healing weapons. Increasing the healing received from you and your teammates allows you to be able to tank much more monsters or boss attacks, which is what you're gonna use the tank weapons for anyways. These are gonna provide way more value on taunt weapons like the Lava Shield and the Wolf Stick, because you are expecting to take a lot of damage when you choose these weapons specifically. Otherwise, this core is not really that important. Now you might think I'm putting this on B tier with the Healing Core, but I'm actually gonna put it in C tier. The reason for this is because a 5% increase of healing received per level is not that much survivability compared to another core I will mention later. Yes, increased healing from teammates will potentially provide more value, but the fact of the matter is, you have to rely on having teammates healing you to get the most value out of this core. And if you play other games before, people avoid healers like the plague. And that's why it's in the lowest tier, because 1. You need teammates healing you to get the most value out of it, and 2. Your teammates should be focusing on doing damage instead of healing you. Now, the HP core. This is the direct competitor of the healing received core. Exact same logic to the healing received core, MC OC on taunt weapons, OC or C otherwise. However, what makes this core better for them is 1. It has a 7.5 HP increase per level compared to the 5% increase of healing received per level. 2. Its value is not reliant on your teammates. And 3. Tank weapons usually have more HP compared to their self-healing. Take a look at the Wolf Stick. Anyways, you just get way more value from them. Of course, Lava Shield and Wolf Stick get the most value out of this core. The Headbanger has a lot of movement and invincibility frames, so you shouldn't be taking damage anyways. And the Venom Bow is a weapon you shoot at a distance. So a pretty safe weapon, so not much value from them. Feel free to let me know if you disagree with the HP and healing received cores, but for me, it is a solid B tier. Last but certainly the least is the Dodge core. This is a sad one, honestly. Weapons that have dodge cores don't even take a lot of damage. Zapsicle and Singularity have a lot of movement options to dodge boss attacks. Speed Shot is a ranged weapon, so you're not constantly getting hit by boss melee attacks. Squid Blades is the best weapon that uses the dodge core by far, mainly because the Squid Blades is a melee weapon that doesn't have a proper dash or iframe ability to dodge boss attacks. Even still, it's not really a healthy mindset to get hit with a lot of attacks and pray that your dodge core works. Please get good and learn to manually dodge boss attacks instead of relying on the dodge core. C tier. And that's the tier list. A lot of people probably not gonna agree. Gonna be a controversial tier list, I would assume, especially with the healing and the healing received core. Even like the cooldown core might be controversial. But again, if you disagree or you think my list is good enough for some reason, then leave a comment down below, because I'd like to know actually. Maybe I'll change my tiers in the next video I'll release, or the next patch notes, probably something like that. And if you like content like this, because I will be making more content like this, please like and subscribe. And for now, that's it. This has been Haas, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.